Hey everyone, I wanted to recognize our sponsor, Traver Connect. Two words ring true for all of us in the automotive service space: the phones. When we hear those words, we instantly all sigh. Because as much change as our industry has seen, we still getting overwhelmingly amount of calls. No need to sigh though. That's where a good BDC comes in handy, doesn't it? I know the team at Traver Connect personally, and these guys get it, and they can help you build your service BDC. Or you can use their team to catch the calls you miss from well-trained team of agents that they have. Or have them make outbound calls and set new appointments. Give Traver Connect a call today. As they say, revenue doesn't leave a message at the beep. Reach out to the team at Traver Connect at traverconnect.com. Dynatron Software is also an important sponsor for the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. As both technology and the auto industry continue to evolve, every dealership needs to ask themselves a very important question. Am I in the forefront or stuck in the past? Dynatron Software offers the latest in data analytics, business tools, and pricing optimization. Contact them for more info. Sales at dynatronsoftware.com. Guys, as always, help spread the message of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us to spread the word. Also, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. Get the new episodes as soon as they're released. And now, here's another episode for you. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Today, we are excited to have with us Michael Cirillo, the CEO of FlexDealer and the host of the incredibly popular Dealer Playbook podcast. Michael, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Dave. And you're making me blush now.
That's the point.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know you, why don't you go ahead and give them a little synopsis of where you came from and how you've ended up here?
Sure. Yeah. So, second gen business owner. I think there's one or two of those in the car business. Our family business stemmed from publishing telephone books. You remember those? Those are the things you're using to prop up your computer monitors with right now.
Absolutely.
And, we did that successfully for quite some time, from the early 80s all the way through to 2012. No, sorry, 19. Where am I? What am I talking about? 1998. Sorry. And then from 98 through to 2012, we migrated into publishing a car magazine, an automotive magazine, similar to kind of the buy and sells that you would pick up from the corner store or a convenience store or something like that. And then it was around 2006 where we started to notice a shift, the digital shift really happening. We're in Canada, so maybe we're a little bit behind the United States on that front, but we started to notice that shift. And our initial step was to kind of somehow integrate digital with the magazine. And gosh, there's a lot of newspapers that are still trying to do that. In 2012, we cut out all traditional marketing and all traditional advertising and just went heavy on digital solutions for our clients. And so fast forward today, FlexDealer is an all services type of agency, from technology to strategy to implementing marketing strategy for our clients and helping them get to the bottom of, or finally, our main ambition, Dave, is to finally help them get clarity on what's working and what's not working so they can move forward in a much more strategic way.
Yeah, that's a deep bottom, isn't it?
It's a race to the bottom, it feels like on some day, but that is our vain ambition. Is we pride ourselves in we want to do the right thing. I think a lot of things that will solve what I think will solve most of the issues that we face from a business perspective in the industry today is understanding how being a good person can tie into money. I think a lot of people don't understand that money is not the result of just being a shark or a hound. It's actually the result of providing value, right? Money is just the acknowledgement the value has been received. So I'm grateful that to grow in a family business that had that philosophy, that continues with that philosophy of just wanting to help. That's the reason why I host the Dealer Playbook. That's why I pay out of my pocket to do it. I mean, so many people are like, but you've had sponsors. Yes, you know what? I have played around because I'm a marketer.
Yeah.
I want to see what works and what doesn't work. So of course I have dabbled in that, but it's my desire to help the industry. I imagine it's the exact same emotion, feeling that you have doing this podcast and building your tremendous group. You want to help people. You want to help change the narrative from Shark Tank to long-term relationships of trust. And so that's why we do that podcast weekly. That's why I reach out to the people that I have on the podcast. And I know you're going to be an upcoming guest, and, to have the conversations that we have, because there are more good people in this industry than there are those that create a bad name for it. And it's time for us to highlight those individuals and shift the narrative in this space.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I love that stance. What I have taught my advisors at every place that I've been is that money follows customer satisfaction, not the other way around.
Love it.
Yeah, it's you take care of the customer, and the money will follow.
What's cool about that too, though, is like when you really make that connection. So many things about the process internally will change because you can finally put yourself in the customer's shoes. Yep. I had a recent experience. So we purchased a Hyundai Palisade. That's the Cirillo family whip, right? Gorgeous vehicle. We just brought it in for its first service. Dave, would you believe me if I told you that I stood as the only person in line for 10 minutes while Buster, that's his nickname, while Buster sat there clacking away on the keyboard without even acknowledging my presence? I wondered if I was in the right place. Let's go a step before that. My wife booked the appointment. Nobody told her where to go, what to do. We pulled up to the dealership. There was no signs. I mean, there was the service-based sign, but there was no process like, hey, when you arrive, the doors will open, you drive your vehicle in, nothing, right?
Right.
Well, this is the kind of behavior that stems from thinking that ownership only cares about one thing, the money.
Right.
And that's the trickle down that happens right down to where the rubber meets the road. Something, by the way, we booked an appointment. It took 4.5 hours to get our routine first maintenance done. And then when they called me, you're going to love this. It makes my bowels quiver, Dave. And there's a point to why I'm sharing all this. They called me, your vehicle's ready to pick up. I show up. My vehicle was not ready to pick up. In fact, the same individual that I spoke to earlier didn't even remember who I was. Like somehow mysteriously, for those that are listening, you can't see, but I'm, this Danny DeVito-esque, bearded bald guy. Like, he didn't remember who I was. So we had to start the whole thing over again. He said, "Oh, sorry. When I called you, I thought it was going to be done getting washed. Just wait a few minutes." Dave, 32 minutes later, I invite myself into the showroom to see if maybe there's a waiting area. And sure enough, there is. And then another, 15, 20 minutes after that, somebody walks up to me, somebody I'd never met before. They go, "Cirillo?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." "Okay, yeah, there was just a problem with the washer, and it wasn't, the pumps weren't working or something like this. It'll just be a few more minutes." I was there for another hour.
Oh my word.
So now we're 5.5 hours, we're close to 6 hours into getting a routine maintenance. And I believe that entire customer experience, to your point, that entire customer experience, if you want to call it, I mean, it was an experience, But that entire level of customer experience was predicated upon the fact that nobody has had a conversation internally about caring about people and not being a dick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fish
Right?
rots from the head.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so, that's something that I'm so passionate about. It sounds like you are too, like customer experience. I love what you say. Like customers follow they follow great customer service.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think we need to have more conversations in this industry about what are some simple steps that you can actually just take right now without having to hire another vendor, without having
Mm-hmm.
that you have the resources to do right now to actually provide that customer experience and make it so that people want to come back to you, to actually become a magnet
Mm-hmm.
for people
Yeah.
wanting to come back to you versus what ultimately the Cirillos have done, looking for another Hyundai store to go service our vehicle.
Right.
Or heaven forbid the Pennzoil or the Penske or the Jiffy Lube or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah. And it really isn't that hard, right? Is it really that hard? Our customers, I listen to people all the time say that, oh, the customer expectations are just, they're out of this world now. They're so hard to meet. I don't think that's true. I think dealerships as a majority are pretty poor at providing a decent customer experience.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, to your point of, you made the appointment and nobody told you where to go. Like
No.
those are simple things. Yeah, I had a conversation a while ago with Damon Egan, and he was talking about decision fatigue that customers have, and they looked at just driving into their store, and it was 11 decisions that customers had to make, whether it was what service store to go in to, whether it was how far to pull up in the bay, and all these little simple things that we take for granted. But it was 11 decisions they had to make from the time they got to the dealer lot to before they were greeted to an advisor. That's a lot to take in. If you've never been there before, how are they supposed to know where to go?
And let's extract that a little, because I find that so fascinating. We need to understand as business people, like we are in the trenches day in and day out. It's common sense to us because we have the most exposure to whatever our process or lack of process is.
Yep.
What we need to understand, can we just ride on the same surfboard for a minute? Like most people, this is going to seem shocking. Like most people don't know how to make 11 decisions in a month.
That's so true.
Think of like how fatigued people get about, where do I want to go for dinner? Think of like how many marriages have ended based upon the husband not wanting to pick where to go for dinner.
Yeah.
Don't fact check me on that. I know what's going on in the States. Fact check this, fact check that. We're trying to make light a little bit here, but you're right. When I interviewed on my podcast a guy by the name of Ollie Gardner, he's the founder of a company called Unbounce, and they just specialize in creating landing pages and optimization and making pages convert higher and stuff like that. He said the same thing to the same effect as Damon. He said that when you have more than 3 calls to action on a page, you reduce your chances of a conversion by almost 80%.
Wow.
And that's because it's that, what's the analogy? It's the 180 flavors of soft serve ice cream only sounds like a good idea when you're driving down the freeway passing the sign. But we've all done it. You walk into a Cold Stone or a Marble Slab or one of these and they have 15, 20, 100, 200 flavors. And what happens? You walk out with maple walnut like an 86-year-old woman. And you're regretting the fact that somebody else got birthday cake or, some other flavor that ultimately looks better. And so what we find is, to your point, what I've observed as we work with our clients is that when you have more decisions for somebody to make, they will either A, not make any decisions at all, or B, feel very unsatisfied psychologically with the decision they did make.
Right.
And so, the conversation needs to really be like, I get it. You have 11 different places that you want to direct somebody, because those are what's the old traditional way of thinking of things, like casting a wide net.
Yeah. Right. I lost you there for a sec.
That's okay. So the old traditional philosophy of casting a wide net, like that's our take on it. If we give them all these options, then there's a higher
Right.
chance that we'll get one of them.
Yeah.
When the reality is that we need to cast the right size net for the right individual. And then that will actually increase the opportunity to grow business.
Totally agree.
So I was thinking about, what you were just saying. I wrote down the word cougar, not like the middle-aged woman in a bar that preys on young guys. I was watching this video the other night. It was this runner in, I want to say like a canyon somewhere in Provo, Utah.
I just watched this today.
Did you just watch this? It is freaky, dude. Like,
yeah.
So I guess from what I could see is that he saw some baby cougars or mountain lions or whatever we call them on the trail, and he wasn't even near them. But out of nowhere, man, the mother just starts stalking him for like 6 minutes straight and like pouncing at him. Oh, you know why I wrote that down? Because your point about customers and their expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You see, let's just say the runner who was freaked out, who also, by the way, did a really poor job at making himself sound big. I think that's what you're supposed to do in that situation.
Yeah. He didn't sound tough.
No, but let's just say that he takes the place of the dealer in this whole thing. And the customer, his perception is that the cougar, or AKA the customer, has high expectations, is aggressive, is pushy. No, the reality of it is the cougar had no flipping clue what his intentions were.
Mm-hmm.
And was doing what she thought was necessary to protect herself and her babies.
Right.
So think about that the next time your customers come off to you as the ones that are aggressive or, anything like that, because chances are they are probably just coming in with a preconceived notion about what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I would say majority of the time they are getting it. And here's a perfect example. I watched when I was standing waiting for somebody to acknowledge me in the service bay. I had no choice but to participate because the service rep at the other, they were socially distanced, but he was at the other kind of kiosk, was very loud, very aggressive in explaining to this older woman why what she was seeing on her car wasn't the dealership's fault and why it would. And everybody, they just got to talk like this. You've noticed that. I mean, you've been working in and out of those service departments.
Mm-hmm.
You got wait. Like everybody in a dealership's got to talk like this, and they got to speak. So, what can I do for you today, sir? Oh, whoa, dude, wait, hey. I didn't. Why are we fighting right out of the gates? Like, put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you're walking into a foreign environment, you land on Mars, and instead of aliens saying, we are here to peacefully accept you, they're like, why are you here?
Yeah. Do you have an appointment? Did you call ahead?
Do you have an appointment today, sir? Well, yes, but you should already know that because I'm in the system.
Yeah.
But you see, the problem is that this isn't our problem. You got to deal with that. And that's probably because you parked under a tree. And so when I say I had no choice but to participate in this conversation, I did not interject at all, but it was so loud. He was so loud and so aggressive, that I watched her shoulders as they started to cower forward. And I just thought, why are we still this way? It's 2020. Why are we why are both parties trying to protect themselves versus just conditioning people as to what they can and should expect before they arrive?
Right.
Imagine how much money is being left on the table. You want to talk about money and its correlation to experience. Imagine how much money is being left on the table simply because everybody both was like trying to like protect themselves for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I had a conversation recently with Les Silver, and he was talking about the dentist model of how your first visit to the dentist is not to do anything with your teeth. It's to sit down and understand what your what your plan is for your choppers over the long term, and
Yeah.
to lay out what's going to need to be done and all that kind of stuff. And how great of an idea that would be to do with a customer instead of doing a traditional sales to service handoff, which barely gets done in many dealerships as it is, but actually do a handoff to the service department, and then somebody from the service department sits down and basically talks to the customer about what are you doing with the vehicle? Is this, are you buying this F-250 because you just really like a big truck and it's a daily driver? Are you working with it? Are you an Uber driver? Are you a snowbird who's going to park this car for 7 months in the garage? And understanding how they're going to actually use their vehicle, so that you can then tailor a plan for them as to what they can expect over the life of this vehicle when they come into your dealership, and recording it somewhere so that you know what that is. So you're not, every time they go in, what's the plan for your vehicle again? So rather than oh, Mr. Cirillo, how was Florida? Yeah, it's right. April, you're back.
Oh, you mean the guy that made me wait without acknowledging me, and then didn't even have the notes up to show that I purchased the vehicle for them with, like, Dave, I am such a laydown. I walked in, I'm like, that one, black leather interior, steel graphite, give me all the warranty, like, give me the high, like, give me, just give it to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, had he had those notes up, now I wonder if he would have treated me the way you're explaining, if he had those notes up in front of him, and if there was, in fact, an actual handoff. The word that comes to my mind is onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Like when a new client signs up with my company, there is an onboarding process. There is a way to get them up to speed, get us up to speed, make sure we understand, make sure the relationship is starting off on the right foot, make sure they meet everybody and understand who's all on their side and who's got their back. Imagine if that actually happened. Like, what would that look like? So somebody purchases the vehicle, and instead of the salesperson sitting there taking all the credit and forcing them to take the "you should be here" picture, how they make everybody do that. What if the service reps were there, and the parts reps, and like all of the staff that are going to support this client, and they're there going, congratulations. And it's a little bit of a to-do. Like, I know a social distance, but let's be honest, this podcast is going to live forever. People in 2030 are going to hear this, and hopefully there's no pandemic in 2030, and they're cheering you on. And I'm your sales rep, and I say, Dave, we are so excited for you. We are so grateful for the business. It really makes a difference to us, but we want to make sure it makes a difference for you. Hey, let me introduce you to Michael. He is our service manager, and he's going to be the one that makes sure that your vehicle remains running as smoothly as today. That is our goal. That is our mission. And we want to just provide you the best experience as possible. We are on your side. We've got your back. And we want to continue with the ABC Motors promise of X, Y, and oh, hey, Michael. Yeah. Hey, listen, that is a sweet ride you've got. Like, I love that. I was looking at that, well, what does this require? It requires people to get out of their own head. It requires people to stop overthinking everything. And it requires people that for just a split second can care about somebody other than themselves.
Yeah. It's a relationship, right? I mean, that's what fixed operations is a relationships game. And it's, it's retention, and relationships are equal in my eyes, because if you haven't built that relationship with that customer, then you have no chance of retaining them over the long term.
Totally.
If there's no relationship there's no need for them to come back to you. They can go anywhere. You're a commodity.
Absolutely.
And that's, you need to work diligently, and it should start at the sale of removing yourself from being a commodity and making them not a customer, but a client. So a customer is somebody that, you go to a grocery store and you're a customer, whereas a client is under your care.
Right.
And that's how a customer, a client should be treated by an advisor and by the service staff, by everybody in the dealership, but by the fixed operations staff as a client and somebody who is under their care, and show that they actually do care about them and about their vehicle and about the life and health of that vehicle over the long term.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And this is, for those that maybe sometimes wonder, well, like this all sounds fine and dandy, but it's difficult. I'm having a hard time even getting my team to buy into showing up on time or filling out the CRM properly. Like, how in the world am I going to, like, great Cirillo, but how do I help my people become good people? This is why, for me, especially on my podcast, where we really gravitate a lot is culture. This is
Right.
why culture needs to be a part of the conversation. Um, I think for too many and for too long, culture has been this pie in the sky. Oh yeah, that sounds great, but here we go with more of this fluff, kumbaya. How
Mhm.
does this actually translate to making money? And therein lies the very first problem. Can you shut up about money for a second? Like, I'm not asking you to be Mother Teresa, but can you just put it out of your mind for 12 seconds so we can talk about why culture translates to more money than you will know what to do with?
Right.
So when I work with my clients or when I'm invited to speak somewhere or, you know, well, conversations like this, when you invite me on your podcast, we could get into tactics, but guess what, guys? We've been deploying tactic over tactic over tactic for how many decades now?
Mhm.
And it still isn't working.
Yeah.
You have spurts of it working. It's the immediate gratification. We cannot sit here as an industry and say, oh, millennials, Gen Z, that's the problem. They want immediate gratification. How come I'm not getting more leads? Right? It doesn't fit. Culture is the reason. Now, I'm in particularly blessed. I feel incredibly blessed because over the last decade, 15 years about, where the company has been specifically in my stewardship, I was able to take part in the transition from an Italian immigrant father, where it was like sweep, 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 so that like right the operation, like you got to
Mhm.
do everything yourself,
Yep.
right? Watching my dad have 60, 100 employees and still doing most of the work for them. I feel grateful that over the last 15 years or so, I was able to inject my philosophy on growing a business, which is that my people are my stewardship. Now, I use the word stewardship because it has a much more different meaning than manager or even leader. Um, to have stewardship for something or someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in a position of leadership,
Right.
right? But I feel a stewardship for my people because they are in my tender care. They are in my concern. And I believe so deeply in people that I have to painfully endure when they fail, and they have to painfully endure when I fail. But that we will learn in the process. And so I feel fortunate because I experience firsthand daily the impact that culture has on today revenue and on future revenue, but also on the fact that I have people in my organization that very frequently make it known, Michael, I am a lifer. I want to be here and work until I die. I want to work here, and I will lay down on train tracks for you. Well, the reason they feel that way is because I feel that way about them.
Right.
And what does that have to do with culture? Well, it has everything to do with culture. First and foremost, we don't hire people into my organization. And for those that are listening carefully and you're wondering how to handle the whole turnover issue in the industry, nobody gets hired into my organization unless they are compatible with our core values and beliefs.
Yes.
So, how do you get good people? You hold out.
Mhm.
Is it easy? No, it's painful at times, especially when you feel like you need somebody. But I love what my co-host in the early days when we founded the podcast together, Robert Wiseman, he used to talk a lot about it. He used to say, look, a body is not better than no body.
That's great.
And that's always stuck with me because if I can hold out for the right individual who's compatible with my core values, then I have a much greater ability to help shape that individual who the organization needs, but also in a very happy, fortunate outcome who they need to be to live a happy and fulfilled life. Now imagine if your organization, like imagine if your people can attribute happiness and joy in life to the fact that they work at your organization.
Yeah.
You think they'll want to show up? Totally.
Absolutely.
Do you think they want to go out of their way to help their team members? Totally. Do you think they're going to want to go out of the way to help customers? Totally. I've seen it time and time again. I see it in my organization all the time. So I can attest to its truthfulness. Now, there is a direct monetary impact to culture too, Dave. And that is, if you look at how most organizations budget, they'll say, okay, Dave, he's the service manager. He gets paid $85,000 a year. That is the cost of Dave on ABC, the organization of ABC Motors. No, it's not. You see, because there's also, if Dave is unhappy at work, there's actually a 1.5 to 2 time multiple that you need to add on top of that to account for inefficiency, lack of productivity, extended vacation days or sick days, overtime, you name it. So you're not actually paying Dave $85,000 a year. You're expensing out close to $200,000 a year because of his unhappiness. But the same is true in a positive way if Dave is happy and fulfilled and feeds into the culture. He'll be more efficient. He'll be so you'll actually get $150,000, $160,000 worth of value out of somebody that you're only having to pay $85,000 for.
Right.
And people don't understand that. And so I wonder how much money service departments, dealerships are losing just simply based on culture. Well, if you calculated it out and said, well, I have 50 employees and I would say 50% of them are unhappy, dude, you're wasting almost $1 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And further to that, customers don't want to come back because they hate you.
Yeah. So you're losing even more because you're expensing more there and you don't have any income coming in. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I will say the store that I'm at now, I have been there about 9.5 months. In that 9.5 months, we have increased gross 41% in the fixed ops department. Just labor, 41%.
Wow.
And now that is with 5 less technicians than what I started with.
So you're living it, man.
Yeah, and only one more advisor than what I started with, and I only started with 1. So, but it's all just what you just talked about. It's all about the culture and about understanding that we got to take care of the customer and we got to take care of our employees and our team members, and we have to have them. We have to have a large enough vision that they can not only buy into it, but that they can see their vision for their life within the vision that you're projecting to them. And you know, to your stewardship point, absolutely. I say all the time to people that, you know, I'm not just responsible for my paycheck every week. I'm responsible for everybody's paycheck within that department. I do the wrong things and people can't feed their families. And
how did you arrive at that mindset?
That I'm responsible for them?
Yeah.
I would say that that evolved over time. But it's really knowing that it's understanding that the decisions you make affect what they can do during the day. You know, put in some silly rule that makes it so an advisor can't sell certain things that they can make money on, and that affects their plans. Put in, you know, take a tire machine and move it to the opposite side of the shop, and you've now cut efficiency on people, and it takes them longer to do their job, so they produce less hours and they make less money. It's really realizing that you're there to be the driver of what is happening within that department, and you know, you can't take those decisions lightly. There's a lot that goes into. I brought up the tire machine because when I got there, the tire machines at this place were across the shop. Right. And the way the drive was set up, they were actually in the view of the drive. So there's old tires stacked up, and you know, it's a year and 6-month-old facility, and it looked like a 1920s garage when you drove in.
It's like a Northern Nevada mechanic shop.
Right.
Like,
And I'm like, why are these over here? And they're like, oh, because where they had them was really, it didn't work. And I went back to where they had them. It was in the dead center of the shop. I'm like, yeah, I see why this didn't work. It's right near the brake lathe. It's right near all the other equipment. It's near parts. Why would you want it here?
Yeah. What's funny though, like you bringing that up, rings true, because the first thing, I think it's easy to believe that, well, we've been around since this year. So, and this is the way we've always done it. It's a hard pill for people to swallow, myself included, to realize that perhaps I've been doing it wrong for all that time.
Right.
Or maybe there was something that needed to change. Like we see this all the time in the digital world. Oh man, I paid them to do SEO, and then I paid them to do SEO. Now you're telling me none of it's right? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And I feel so bad that you've had to pay all this time to get to thinking you were getting something that you weren't actually getting.
Right.
To this regard, like, what you just brought up is the equivalent of people say, well, like, how can I be successful? How about you start making your bed every morning? It's like this foundational thing. Well, what are you talking about? Making a bed? What does that have to do with anything? Well, it's because the first decision you make in the day is one of being in control and being organized. And if you can condition your brain and build a habit around that foundational principle, then there's not really much you won't be able to do. For you, I love that you step into it and like your mind immediately goes to, hey, what are customers seeing? But also what's going to help us be more efficient? And that's probably something that I'm not going to suggest they wouldn't have ever thought of it, but they wouldn't have maybe understood as quickly as you with your experience going like, no, we got to make our bed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something, Michael, that I sometimes take my experience for granted.
Right.
And you talk about when we talked earlier about, we take for granted that we're in that situation every day. So you don't notice the fact that a customer doesn't know whether to turn right or left in the parking lot and that kind of thing. And sometimes I take that experience for granted when I say things, and it's, to me, seems like an obvious thing. And that was one of those things, like I walked in, it was like, that was an obvious choice that was a bad place to put that.
Right.
But on the other side of that, so you make those decisions obviously to help the shop, which then helps the customers, which then helps the shop more,
Right.
and you're basically like weaving a fabric together, where the customer and the team are working with each other basically, and working in unison with each other, where everybody wins.
Right.
And that's the reason that we go back to what we started with, which is you need to work on customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction before you can fix anything else. Before you're going to fix any kind of revenue, you need to fix the culture that is in your store, or in your company, whoever it may be that's listening to this. And culture does not mean having a freaking ping pong table in the break room and all that. That's not culture. That has nothing to do with it.
That's why I made the comment I did about tactics. Because somebody somewhere is like, well, Google has ping pong tables and Lego. We'll do that. That's why they have a good culture. No, that's a tactic.
Right. Yeah.
That is a byproduct of the culture because they're thinking about how to improve the work environment for their people. Now, that's why come on. Tactics, no. Ping pong table, no. That is not your culture. Now, where would somebody get started? For the individual that's like, but I have to wait for my leader in order to change the culture. Well, yes and no. To suggest that your leader, like, now don't get me wrong. Yes, leadership top, like you have to set the example. Don't misunderstand. But in the context of, do I have to wait for them to help shift a culture? No. You can recognize, to your point, and that's why I asked you where your mindset had developed from. And I love that you said it's kind of happened organically. It's that, I can make a decision as an employee to show up tomorrow with the right attitude, with an attitude of serving my fellow coworkers. just because you might be a coworker doesn't see, leadership is not reserved for those with the title.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people I look up to that I feel like I've been chasing my entire life to be like, have been custodians.
Mm-hmm.
Literally,
Yeah.
one of my uncles who at times I almost envy the simplicity of his life. He lives in the same house that they bought when they first got married in 1974. He worked for the city for whatever it was, 48 years. Happiest dude I've ever met in my life. And there's elements of that I look up to so much, that I revere, that I chase. And so for me, he's a leader.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And didn't have to be the CEO of Vayner Media or whatever, Grant Cardone Enterprise or whatever it is, Joe Verdi. You didn't have to be these. And so you can have an impact on culture in your store by simply showing up and being on the team and looking out for your coworkers and being an example of going the extra mile and doing the right thing. Now, for leaders, how do you get started? Well, acceptance. And it is painful. The leadership journey is not a fun ride a lot of the time. It requires incredible emotional intelligence and self-awareness. But ultimately, if you're sitting here and you've deployed tactics for the last 20 years and you're realizing that you're no further ahead, perhaps it's time to look in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself, saying, maybe if I am the linchpin, then I am the linchpin for all that's good and for all that's bad.
Absolutely.
And I need to maybe sit down. Maybe I need to sit down with my team and apologize, or have one-on-ones. Maybe I've never given them the time of day to have one-on-ones and have them build a relationship with me. Shame on you.
Right.
Shame on you. You wonder why your service department's not turning over new business or have a repeat business, or why everybody's abandoning you and going to the Walmart tire and lube center? Oh, geez. You've never sat down with your people. You've never told them that you appreciate them and why you appreciate them.
Yep.
If you want to see your culture shift near instantly for all those that need immediate gratification, put time on your calendar to sit down with every member of your team. And before you do that, think about why you're grateful for them and then express it to them when you sit down with them.
Right.
You want to see how quickly things turn around? It is such a tremendous thing. And guess who benefits? Everybody. Literally everybody. Them, you, your customers, the community, because they're going to go home feeling good and they're going to go out into their community and they're going to do good things and they're going to want to help other people. And maybe they're going to strengthen their family relationships because of you. Yeah. We got to start thinking beyond the four walls of the dealership, and we need to start think about living a happy and fulfilled life. And if you're not happy and fulfilled, it's time for you to voice why that is. And it's time for us to gain acceptance that maybe the worst thing that will happen for you expressing your opinion is that you get fired. And then
you're free to start your real life.
Hey, guys, you're more powerful than you are giving yourself credit for. There is more opportunity than perhaps you've been willing to see because maybe you got comfortable. But if that's the worst thing that can happen to you as a result of expressing your opinion, well, maybe that's what needed to happen for you to get the clarity about where you need to be. And so wow, this is we've kind of gone all over the place, but it's because it is such a true conversation. It is such an impactful conversation because we're getting to the root of what actually matters in this industry. People.
Yeah. It's not money.
I'm never a guy that's going to sit here and be like, yeah, so what you want to do is open up your CRM and then click on the gear icon and then that's going to help you make $1 million. It's not. None of it ever has or will.
Right.
It requires you. It requires that individual at the store who quote unquote serviced me to realize how it feels when you're not acknowledged for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And to internalize it and think about it and decide why that's the path that you've chosen. It takes leaders to sit down with their team and train and for them to experience their customer service firsthand. Where do you get your service? Like, no, don't just toss the keys at your service manager next time you want the vehicle serviced. Go
Right.
through the process.
Yeah.
Take the time. Nothing will
Mhm.
compensate for taking the time to observe
Yep.
firsthand how things are going so that you can improve and build a better customer experience.
Yeah. I used to I used to put a hat on and button my winter jacket up, put a different jacket on, and I would park on a different side of the building, and I would sit in the waiting room. And just kind of sit with a magazine so nobody could actually see my face. This was before I wore glasses. It was a little easier to hide my face, who I was.
Right.
And number one, it's enlightening how long you can sit there before anybody goes, "Who the hell are you? Why have you been sitting here for 4 hours?"
It's freaky. What if you had an envelope filled with anthrax?
Yeah, yeah. and the other thing is that you get to sit and listen to them talk to their customers, and you're just like, wow, I cannot believe. I was literally sitting there one day and I watched one of my advisors, to my dismay, walk out, and the woman was in the kids' room with her 3 kids, and it was all glass. And instead of walking around to the entrance, he goes up to the glass and goes dink, 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 dink on the glass with his pen to get her attention, and then waves her in. And I was like,
wow,
oh man, I can't believe I just watched this. So
think of how you get treated at a 5-star restaurant where, like, let's just be realistic, okay? Think of how you get treated at a Gordon Ramsay 4-star, 3.5-star restaurant in Vegas to go get some steaks. And they know there's only 3 of you. The bill's going to be $250.
Yeah.
They treat you like a king and queen.
Right.
This way, sir. White aprons, clean, freshly pressed tablecloths. You know, the food's got to be cooked to perfection. If it's wrong, they let you send it back. No questions asked. They bring you fresh food. The presentation for $250, and they have to do it over and over and over and over and over again to turn a profit.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a woman who's coming to buy a 30, 40, maybe it's okay. Let's even go low, a 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 vehicle. Mm-hmm. And you're tapping on the glass.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You better be walking to the door. Mrs. Johansson, I'm ready for you. Please come this way. Mm-hmm. You know, like, where is so this ties into the people thing, because this is not I hate when we say the retail car business. Yeah. This is the hospitality car business.
Yes, it is.
Period. Full stop. No debate. If you want to debate, go on Facebook. There's no debate. This is the hospitality business, just like the restaurant business is hospitality, just like hotels are hospitality.
Right.
If I get better service and more value from a $79 Holiday Inn Express stay, you need to really pay attention. It would be a shame for us to sit here, Dave, and for those listening, for me to say, go learn how to be better at hospitality for your $80,000 trucks. Go to a Holiday Inn Express and spend $80 on a room. You're going to get everything you need. They don't just go, here's the bed. Right. They tell you where the elevators are, how to get to your room, when the pool's available. There's a hot tub. Breakfast is between the hours of 7 and, or whatever it is, 6 and 9 tomorrow. We have a hot breakfast. Well, you know what we're getting at, Dave? I don't know how hotels make any money, but still, that boggles my mind, that model. But look at how much value you're getting for $79 a night.
Right.
And for 80,000, I'm just picturing somebody tapping on the glass. yeah, I'm ready for you. Dude, go back to the wrecking yard where you came from. You got no business being here. Now, all of this to say, because I don't want people to think that I'm just here ranting, because that's what everybody does. They just rant and offer no solutions. So If I can, Dave, can I just give a quick recap about some of the things that we've talked about here?
Absolutely. I'd love it.
Action item number 1 for me is to experience your hospitality or the hospitality of your business firsthand. Mm-hmm. Don't mystery shop it. Just be like, or if you are going to mystery shop it, then actually mystery shop it, but look through unbiased lenses. Like, It could be the most painful day of your life, but you got to do it. That's the first thing that you can do. You don't need to hire anybody else to do that. You can experience the workflow yourself. Make notes of what rubs you the wrong way. And just know that you don't need to solve it overnight. I know our human nature wants it solved tomorrow, but like Dave, you talked about several times, like, no, this happened organically. My mindset didn't happen all at once. It kind of happened line upon line. So be okay with that. In your plan, in your notes, as you put this together, write down, I will fail. Why? So that when you do fail, you're not shocked, surprised, discouraged by it. You're actually motivated. Use it as rocket fuel.
Yes.
I failed. That means I learned something. Like it's easy for us, right? What's the Thomas Edison? I didn't fail 10,000 times. I learned 1,000 different ways not to make a light bulb. And we're like, oh, that's so great and inspiring. But then we fail and we're like, we're all melancholy and like, I'm never going to amount to anything. No, put it in your plan. If you account for failure, it's no longer failure. It's learning. It's education. So you can do that. Experience it. If you're a salesperson, a service rep, a technician, and you're listening to this and thinking that it's all dependent upon your leadership layer, it is not. Show up tomorrow with the resolve, with an attitude of service, doing the right thing by as many people as you can. Believe it or not, we are actually more conditioned to do good than we are bad. No, I don't think anybody's showing up to work to be awful at what they do.
No.
And each of us are having thoughts about doing good things. So the second thing in my encouragement is to stop overthinking doing good. Because you've been impressed to do good things you're in the service bay and you're like, man, it'd be a good idea. Like, think about what you're saying. You know what would be a good idea is if we moved the tire thing from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
So do it.
Right.
Act when you are prompted and inspired to do something good. Act. You will be setting a precedent. You will be demonstrating good behavior. Others will identify that it made them feel good and why it's important, and they will follow suit. Don't overthink what if the leader doesn't like it? What if my coworker that's always grumpy about everything doesn't like it? Well, they can go screw off.
Yeah.
But you felt prompted to do good. It has everything to do with you, very little to do with them.
Yes.
The more good you do in your organization, the happier you will become, the stronger you will be, the more inclined to experience accelerated growth you will become. So that's what you can do. And it's the same thing for leaders. Same principle applies. When you feel inspired to do good, do it. Don't overthink it. Don't push it off. Don't say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I was like, doing good is predicated upon taking action. So take action.
Right.
So you're going to be 10 minutes late for your golf game. Come on, you're 10 minutes late for all of your other meetings. What does it matter? Third thing is, if you have to write it on a Post-it note, then so be it. I serve people. Write it down. Remind yourself. That way, when Mrs. Johansson, the 80-year-old widow who needs her car serviced, who doesn't know how to get all the bird crap off of her rear spoiler or her trunk, and thinks it's a problem with the car because she has cataracts and doesn't know, or can't see that well. Don't, oh, well, no, that's not our. Be tender. Try a little tenderness. Is it Michael Bolton? Time, loving tenderness, right? Try tenderly caring for people and watch how quickly an affinity for you grows. Watch how quickly they start referring you to their friends and their family. Watch how their guard goes down. Watch how the negative stigma associated with the car business begins to dissipate. We are seeing it one dealership at a time. But boy, oh boy, Dave, I think it's my vain ambition that we all, and I know you're a change agent, man. Like, I love that you're doing this, and you have a desire to get information out and to help others, because the more of us that do it, and the more people on the ground, because I know there are more good people. I've met the best people in my entire life right here in the retail car business, in the hospitality business.
Absolutely.
Right. Worldwide, dude. Doesn't matter. Amsterdam to South, to Australia. There's one thing that rings true for me. This is the most powerful, resilient, and inclined to do good industry there are. There's just a few that are giving us a bit of a wonky name.
Yep.
But the more of us that speak up and have a resolve to do good and shift our cultures, the impact is so far reaching, we may never even know in this lifetime how many people were actually affected in a positive way. And that's when businesses become generational. That's when businesses scale infinitely. That's when businesses really go on to do some incredible things. So, I hope that provides a ton of value. I hope those that are listening, that follow you, are listening carefully through the context of their circumstances and not just taking all of this at face value. Crap, another podcast about culture. No, like, this is real stuff.
Right.
This is real everyday human stuff. This is a business driven by humans, and we need to pay attention to those humans to extract greatness. Zig Ziglar said it best. The late Zig Ziglar, help as many other people achieve success and you'll have success. Absolutely. We rise by lifting others. So let's start lifting others, not just our customers, but primarily our customers and also others. But I believe our customers will be lifted naturally, simply and naturally, if we learn inside to have a culture of lifting one another and helping one another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the car business, but it's really the people business, and they just happen to bring a car with them. That's it. That's all it is. Michael, this was awesome. Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Easiest way to find me is over on LinkedIn. What is it? LinkedIn.com/in/Michael Cirillo. And of course, I'd be honored, man, if your people would check out the Dealer Playbook podcast. We release new episodes weekly on all podcast platforms. Wherever you find a podcast, just type in the Dealer Playbook and you'll see at least one of our almost 400 episodes.
Nice. I'm catching up. I got 21.
Hey, it's not a race.
That's awesome. So I'll make sure all that's linked up in the show notes for everybody so they can get out there and find you and follow you and start listening to the incredible wisdom that you provide in your podcast. Michael, thank you very much for being with us. This was an awesome episode, and I know that everybody's going to get a lot of value out of this.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for the invitation. Love what you're doing and love just the group that you're building. It's amazing to watch. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Another information-packed session of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast is in the books. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Remember to download Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast on your favorite podcast app and to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We thank again our sponsors, Dynatron Software and Traver Connect. Make sure you guys visit them. They've got some incredible products to help your dealership excel. Until next time, thanks for joining us.